All right, check this out, man. When we talk about football, everybody always gets stuck on the same names, right? It's always the flashy strikers, the goal machines, the guys hitting 30-yard screamers. But here's the thing nobody tells you. None of that matters if you don't have the guy at the back keeping your whole empire from collapsing. And that's why goalkeepers are some of the most misunderstood, underappreciated beasts in the game. Because while everybody's screaming about Messi, Ronaldo, Mbappe, whatever, these dudes are out here literally saving lives on the pitch. One fingertip, one insane dive, one split-second decision that changes the outcome of an entire season. And what's wild is we're living in a golden era for this position. Like, think about it. Neuer, Alisson, Courtois, 3 completely different animals, 3 totally unique philosophies of what it means to guard that net. And yet all of them have a legit claim to being the best in the world. And that's the question that drives me nuts. Man, who's really number one? Who's the guy you'd bet your life on in the biggest game of your career? And I'm telling you right now, once you start peeling back the layers, once you start looking at style, eras, clutch moments, it gets way deeper than just highlight reels. So buckle up, because this isn't just a conversation about football. This is about greatness, about pressure, about who you trust when everything's on the line. And by the end of this, you're going to look at goalkeepers in a whole new way. Man, when you talk about Manuel Neuer, you're not just talking about some goalkeeper who made a couple of flashy saves. You're talking about a dude who literally rewired the way the position is even understood. Like before him, goalkeepers were just guys between the posts, right? They catch, they block, they dive, they yell at defenders, but Neuer comes along and suddenly he's 20 yards out of his box, chesting balls down like a center back, dribbling around strikers like he's trolling them, pinging passes 40 yards to start attacks. And you're sitting there going, what the hell is this guy doing? Is he insane or is he a genius? And then you realize, no, he's changing the game in real time. And the craziest part is he's doing it with so much confidence that his defenders and coaches actually trust him. Like, think about that. A keeper running out almost to the halfway line to sweep up a through ball. If anybody else tried that, they'd get benched or roasted. But with Neuer, it became this terrifying weapon. And that's why Germany in 2014 looked unbeatable, because not only did they have this wall in goal, they had this extra outfield player who just happened to be a 6'4" beast with cat reflexes. And it's not just the highlight reels, man, it's the aura. Like, attackers know if you put a ball in behind the defense, Neuer's already sprinting, sliding, clearing. He's not waiting, he's hunting. And that completely changes how teams approach you. And people forget how bold that is, because one mistake and you're the clown of the tournament. But his self-belief was insane. His timing was razor sharp. And on top of that, he had the old school keeper stuff too. The one-on-ones, the fingertip saves, the commanding presence, the screaming at his back line, but all of it wrapped in this futuristic, almost outlandish style. Like, he looked like a cyborg mixed with a libero. And you got to respect how long he held that standard at Bayern, winning everything. Champions Leagues, multiple Bundesligas. And it wasn't just the trophies, it was the culture shift. Like, suddenly every coach is telling their keeper, hey, you need to play with your feet. You need to sweep. You need to build from the back. And that ripple effect is still alive today, man. Ederson, even Courtois has improved his distribution, but the DNA of that is all Neuer, because he kicked the door open and said the goalkeeper doesn't just protect, he initiates, he dictates, he scares the hell out of strikers, not just with saves, but with unpredictability and in a weird way. He's like the MMA fighter who comes in with some unorthodox style and just shifts the whole sport. Like, people don't realize how revolutionary that is until 10 years later when everyone else is copying it. And you're like, damn, that guy was ahead of his time. Man, Alisson is one of those guys where you almost don't even notice how insanely good he is, because he makes everything look so damn calm. Like, you watch him play and it's almost boring sometimes. But that's the trick. That's the genius, because goalkeeping is chaos. Man, it's shots flying, defenders panicking, the crowd roaring, and he just stands there like he's meditating, like nothing can rattle him. And that's terrifying for attackers, because when you're one-on-one with him, you're expecting nerves, you're expecting him to flinch or guess, but Alisson just waits. He reads you, he makes you blink first, and then boom, he smothers the ball like it was never even dangerous. And the craziest part is how balanced his whole style is. because he's not out there trying to be flashy or overly aggressive. He's not Neuer charging out halfway up the pitch, but he's also not just glued to his line like old school keepers. He picks his moments, man, like this JD level decision making where you think, okay, he's going to rush me, but he doesn't. Or you think, Hughes staying put, and then suddenly he's on top of you. And that's what makes him so deadly. And his distribution is like this perfect modern blend. He doesn't overcomplicate it. He's not showing off, but when Liverpool need that quick outlet, he drops a dime 40 yards onto Salah's foot like it's nothing. And that balance between keeper instincts and modern playmaking is rare because usually you get one or the other. But he's just this steady wall with a built-in GPS. And think about how many times Liverpool's entire season has been saved by him. Like that famous last-minute header he scored. Yeah, people remember that, but way before that, he was keeping them alive in tight Champions League runs, clutch saves against Napoli, Tottenham, Barcelona, and the dude never looks rattled. Like pressure doesn't even exist in his brain. And I think that's what separates him, man, because Courtois is a giant, Neuer's a revolutionary, but Alisson is like the Zen master of goalkeeping, the calm in the storm. And if you're a defender playing in front of him, that's got to feel like wearing body armor. Like you can screw up and he's got you covered. And there's this quiet intimidation too, because attackers know if they don't hit the perfect shot, if they give him even a sliver of a chance, he's getting there, he's shutting it down. And it's not with some dramatic Superman dive. It's with this cool, almost casual move like, yeah, I got this. And that has to mess with your head because instead of feeling like you almost beat him, you feel like you never had a chance. And that mental game is huge, man. Because in sports, when somebody takes away your belief, they've already beaten you. And that's Alisson every single week. Courtois, man, that dude is like a skyscraper with gloves on. It's insane how massive he looks in goal. And it's not just size for show. It's how he uses it. Like when you're a striker running at him, you already feel like you're shooting at a wall because he's 6'6" with those long arms and somehow still quick as hell. And the way he bends his body stretches out, it feels like there's no angle left. And that gets in players' heads before they even take the shot. And I think the wildest thing about him is how he shows up in the biggest possible games, like that 2022 Champions League final, man. He single-handedly broke Liverpool's spirit. Salah, Mane, all those guys kept testing him, and Courtois just kept saying, nope, diving, blocking, smothering. And it wasn't just luck. It was pure dominance, one of the greatest individual performances ever from a keeper, and that's kind of his identity. He's the guy you can rely on when the world is collapsing around you. When the pressure is insane, he thrives on it. Like he actually gets sharper when the stakes are higher, and that's rare. Man, because most keepers crumble when the weight of expectation comes. But Courtois seems to expand. Like the bigger the moment, the bigger he gets, and his shot stopping is ridiculous. Reflex saves with those long limbs, low saves, even though he's so tall, point blank reaction stops where you're like, how the hell did he get to that? And then add his command of the box, because on crosses or corners, he's a nightmare. He comes out, grabs it, swats it, bullies strikers, and defenders love that because you feel safe. You know he's going to clean up. And over the years, he's done it at Chelsea, at Atletico, and now at Real Madrid, where he's become almost untouchable. And yeah, people criticize his distribution sometimes. But honestly, when you're that dominant as a pure wall, it almost doesn't matter because he makes saves that no one else can. And that's the trade-off, man. You don't need him to be pinging 60-yard passes when he's literally shutting down the world's best attackers week after week. And mentally, he's cold, ice cold. Like you never see him rattled. Even when he makes a rare mistake, he just resets and goes again. And that psychological toughness combined with that gigantic frame, it's like watching a Marvel villain in goal. You know he's coming. You know what he does, and you still can't beat him. And that's why players walk off the field shaking their heads, because Courtois doesn't just save shots. He breaks your confidence. And once a keeper does that to you, man, you're done. It's crazy when you start breaking down goalkeepers across different eras and styles, because it's almost like you're comparing three different martial arts. Like Neuer is this wild revolutionary, a sweeper keeper who comes out of nowhere and flips the whole sport on its head. And then you got Alisson, who's like this calm, composed master of fundamentals. And then Courtois, who's this giant fortress. And And each of them represents a different philosophy of what it means to protect the net. And that's what makes this whole debate so fun. Man, because Neuer belongs to that era where keepers were suddenly being asked to be more than just shot stoppers. And he didn't just adapt, he went full on mad scientist, sprinting out, dribbling, becoming this 11th outfield player, while Alisson's era is about balance, about finding that perfect mix of old school instincts and modern demands. Like he can ping a pass or save a one-on-one with the same ease, but he doesn't look like he's trying to reinvent the wheel. He just makes everything look smooth, like he's at peace in the middle of chaos. And then Courtois represents the modern peak of physical dominance. Like we're in this age where attackers are faster, stronger, more clinical than ever. And he's the answer to that, this giant who somehow moves like a smaller man. And the way these styles clash is fascinating, because if you put Neuer's 2014 version, peak World Cup beast mode, against today's Courtois, you'd be seeing two completely different versions of greatness. One playing almost like a midfielder in gloves, the other standing like a tower, refusing to be beaten. And then you slide in Alisson, and he's like the bridge between the two, the guy who doesn't lean too hard into either extreme, just this reliable, calm figure who delivers consistency. And that's why people argue over who's number one, because it really depends on what you value most. Like if you're all about influence, Neuer wins hands down because he changed the job forever. But if you're talking about right now, today, who you'd want in a Champions League final, Courtois might be the guy, because he's proven time and time again that the bigger the game, the better he gets. And if you're thinking about a long season, a grind where you need steady hands, Alisson is your man because his calmness radiates through the entire team. And that's the thing, man. Goalkeeping is not just about numbers or saves. It's about energy, presence, the psychological warfare with attackers. And each of these guys brings their own era, defining style into that battle. So you're not just comparing players, you're comparing philosophies, almost like asking which martial art is the most effective. And the truth is they all work, but they work in different ways depending on the fight. The real question when you're talking about Neuer, Alisson, and Courtois isn't just who's the best. It's about how you define that word, because best overall and best right now are two completely different animals. Like best overall means legacy, influence, the way you changed the sport, the stuff that lives on even after you're retired. And in that sense, Neuer is untouchable, man, because he straight up rewired the DNA of goalkeeping. Before him, keepers were like goal line bodyguards, and after him, they were playmakers, sweepers, almost midfielders with gloves. So if you're talking about influence and greatness over a career, Neuer is probably your guy. But then you switch gears and talk about best right now. Like if you had to play a Champions League final tomorrow, who do you pick? That's where Courtois comes into the conversation, because his recent performances, especially that UCL run in 2022, they were freakish, like superhuman. And it wasn't just one or two saves, it was entire games where he single-handedly kept Madrid alive. And that's the definition of best in the moment. Yeah. He's like a heavyweight fighter in his prime, towering over everybody and shutting them down. And then there's Alisson, who's this weird hybrid, because he doesn't have Neuer's legacy or Courtois' biggest stage heroics at the same scale, but he's the most consistent, the most reliable. And if you're thinking long season, week in, week out, he might actually be the safest pick, because he never seems to go through those long dips in form. He's always just there, calm, steady, doing the job. So the question really forces you to ask yourself, what do you value more, the revolutionary who changed the game forever, the giant who's currently shutting down the best in the world, or the balanced wall who gives you consistent excellence? And that's why these arguments never end, because best overall feels like you're talking about history books, about who shaped the future, while best right now is about the current fight, the guy in the octagon today, and sometimes those aren't the same person. And I think that's the fascinating part, because in sports, people mix them up all the time. They'll say, this guy's a G08. What they really mean is, he's the hottest in form right now. And with these three keepers, you can split it perfectly. Neuer for the revolution and the legacy, Courtois for the current dominance, and Alisson for that steady balance in between. And depending on what lens you use, the answer changes. And that's why the debate is so damn fun, because there's no one size fits all definition of number one. At the end of the day, man, that's the beauty of this whole debate. there isn't some absolute set in stone answer, because goalkeeping, just like fighting, just like life, it's all about perspective, about what you value the most. And you look at these three monsters, Neuer, Alisson, Courtois, and each one represents something different. Neuer is the guy who broke the mold. He's the innovator, the mad scientist who dragged the position into the future. Alisson is the calm wall, the dude who makes the hardest job in football look like a walk in the park. And Courtois is the tower, the guy who rises when the lights are the brightest and says, nah, not today, to the best strikers in the world. And trying to crown one of them as the definitive number one almost misses the point, because what we're really looking at is three different versions of greatness existing at the same time. And how lucky are we to even witness that, to live in an era where you can flip channels and see completely different philosophies of goalkeeping clashing at the highest level. And that's what makes this conversation so much fun, because it's not about shutting one guy down to elevate another. It's about appreciating the fact that this position, which used to be the most thankless job on the field, is now filled with guys who are redefining what's possible. So good luck to you if you're ever trying to settle this debate, because the truth is it comes down to your own lens, your own values. But either way, man, respect to all three of them. They're giants in their own right. And hey, thanks for hanging with me through this breakdown. Appreciate the time, appreciate the energy, and whatever you're chasing out there, good luck with it. Keep grinding, stay focused, and I'll catch you on the next one.